Are we live? I think we are. Hip hip hooray. All right. Those of you watching this later, we're going to start in just a minute. I want to make sure I take a sip of coffee, and then I need to share this on Facebook. So give me just a second, and then we'll get started. We got some interesting things planned. I'm going to talk about a few things from the IELTS test. If you don't know about the IELTS test, it's a really interesting test. If you haven't taken it or have never even considered taking it, you should, because it's a great way to test all of your English skills and get a really accurate score about where you are in terms of your English level. So look into it. IELTS. We're going to be talking about that a bit and answering questions. We do this every Sunday, so make sure you join every Sunday we try to start at 11:30. It's not 11:30, but we try. I'll try. And also, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, so that you can see my future videos I post every week. And also, if you want to study really seriously, make sure you check out my courses. There are links in the description. You can check those out. And Lolly's here. That's good news. Let me just quickly share this to the Facebook group. We do have a Facebook group too. You can go to Facebook and search Cloud English and ask to join the group. It's a very special group. It only costs $12 million to join the group. So it's free, but you have to request to join. Okay, let me just quickly share this. I know I've said that 10 times, but this is the last time I'm going to say it. How are you doing today, Lolly? I recently found out that I can put comments on the screen, which is pretty cool, I think. Also, if you haven't seen any of my other videos, I recently posted a video about Mulan, the history of Mulan. Well, actually, not history. It's not a real story. Not a real person, rather. So check that out if you haven't already. I posted that on Saturday and spent a lot of time on that one. I think it's interesting, but I would be interested to see what you guys think about it. Okay. All right. Posted. We are good to go. Greetings from Czech Republic. Jarmala is here, and I probably say everybody's name wrong, but what can I do? What can I do? We're all from different places in the world. A lot of people say my name wrong. A lot of people in China say my name as Luck. Luck. Hey, Luck. And they spell it as L-U-C-K. Luck. And that's okay with me. I don't mind. Doesn't bother me. My mother-in-law calls me Luke. My wife's mother, she calls me Luke. Hey, Luke. And that's okay too. I don't mind. No problem. Lolly is very good, thanks. I'm good too. Yeah, I'm actually fantastic. I think after we do this live stream, I'm going to go to the cinema and watch Joker. That's my plan, because a lot of my friends have seen Joker, and so I feel like I should be watching it. I've heard it's a pretty interesting movie. I've heard some of my friends think it's really good. Some of them think it's not so good. It's very controversial these days, so I'm excited to see it. Have any of you guys seen Joker? I'd be interested for your thoughts. But no spoilers, please. Don't tell me what happens at the end, because I haven't seen it yet. Okay. Well, I think we can get started. So here's what we'll do. I'm going to talk a little bit about the IELTS test, and we'll learn how to answer this. And we'll talk about, even if you don't want to take the IELTS test, how you can use this to practice, to work on your English. And then we'll talk about some questions. So get your questions ready. Have a couple English questions about pronunciation, about culture, whatever. Okay? So let's get started with IELTS first. What is the IELTS test? the IELTS test is an examination meant for non-native English speakers to test their ability to use English. There's a speaking part, a listening part, a writing part, and a reading part. So 4 different parts. Now within each part there are parts. So there are 3 questions, for example, in the speaking part. We're going to talk about one of the questions in the speaking part of the IELTS exam. Now, if you are not a person who is interested in the IELTS, should you just ignore this? Well, actually, practicing IELTS questions is a great way to work on your ability to organize your thoughts in English. It really is. If you know how to answer an IELTS question well, you should be able to, in a conversation, explain something very clearly. It can help you to learn how to organize your thoughts in English, think in English, and express yourself. So even if you're not taking the IELTS test, you should pay attention. This can really, really help. It's a great exercise. And I often, with my personal students, will use IELTS questions even if they're not preparing for the exam. Okay, now we're going to talk about the second question in the IELTS test, which is often considered the most difficult because it has several parts. But actually, those parts make it, in a way, easier, but we have to know how to approach it, how to begin to answer it, how to think about it in the right way. Okay, so really the question is, how do we answer an IELTS question? And we have some strategies, some tips that we need. We have to know some things, okay? So let's just go through these, and then we'll actually practice it. Then we'll actually talk about how to answer it with a real question. All right, so first we have to think about the structure of the question. Usually, a Part 2 question has several parts, okay? And so we can use those parts as the outline itself. That can make it a lot easier to organize. A lot of people will think, okay, I have a question here, and I need to figure out an outline by myself, and then I need to answer it. But when you're answering a Part 2 question, you only have a very short period of time to prepare, and then you have to speak for 2 minutes about the question. So you often don't have time to make an outline. You barely have time to decide what you're going to talk about. The best thing to do is to actually use the question as an outline because it has several parts. And we'll look at that in just a second. Okay? Now, the other one is there's the time limit. You have to speak for 2 minutes. Now, as long as you speak for 2 minutes, you're okay. If you finish after 1 minute, then you're not okay. If you talk for a minute and say, I'm done, that's not so good. But if they stop you and you're not quite done, it's probably okay. Maybe you're telling a story, you're not quite finished, it's probably okay. Now, you don't want to be still talking about the very first thing in your answer, but as long as you're moving through the points and you're sharing your explanation of whatever the question is about, whatever it may be, then you should be okay. So don't stress out about the time limit. Often the time limit is what makes people feel nervous. 2 minutes. Right? Don't let it make you feel nervous. Just answer as you would answer. And again, we're going to do an example in just a second, okay? Now, we also need to think about how to answer the question correctly. One of the things that I think makes people do worse on the speaking part is to try to use all kinds of difficult words or sentence structures that you don't actually know that well. Now, if you're able to use those, if you're able to use a really complex sentence structure or something like that, or a very difficult vocabulary word, and you do it correctly, great, that will probably help your score, right? However, if you use it wrong, then it hurts your score quite a bit. So it would be much better if you use simple English correctly rather than using complicated English incorrectly, okay? So keep it simple and use what you know rather than trying to use something that you really don't know that well. It's better to use simple English correctly than very complex English incorrectly. The other thing is that when you're sharing details, remember that the examiner doesn't know what's going on in your head. So if you make up something, if something isn't true, if something is just a detail because you need it to tell the story and it's not true about your life, fine. They're not living in your head and they're not giving you a lie detector test, okay? So don't worry too much about that. If you have to make up a detail, sometimes the questions are, tell me about the most thing in your whole life. And then you stress out about which one is the most. I have number 1, number 2, and number 3. I don't know which one is number 1. Don't stress out about that. Okay? Pick one. The examiner isn't going to say, hey, wait a second, that wasn't number 1. That was number 2. No. Just pick one. Okay? They don't know which thing is your favorite thing or your second favorite thing. They don't really know. So just pick one. Because you have to pick quickly. You have to choose quickly. You don't have time to think. Okay? That's really, really important to keep in mind. Okay, the other one, the last thing we need to keep in mind is that we should try to get the simple details out of the way. Often there's a chance to use simple details first. Once we finish saying those things, then we can focus on telling the story. So often we get caught up in trying to get the story and the simple details together, kind of mixed to make sure we cover all the points. The best thing to do is get the simple details out of the way. Usually that's point number 1, 2, and 3. And then focus the rest of our time on just telling the story. And then we can relax and just use our memory and describe what's in our memory. Okay? So that's it. That's what you have to keep in mind. Why don't we do one? Why don't we actually practice this? Okay, so let's look at a question from part 2. Okay, now you can go online. You can look at a bunch of IELTS questions. If you want to practice this, you should look up IELTS questions and practice this, even if you're not taking the IELTS test, because they are a great way to improve your spoken English and, as I said, improve your ability to organize your thoughts in English. So the question is, describe a memorable trip you've taken. You should say where you were going, who you went with, why you decided to go, and what made it a memorable trip. Now, look at the first 3. Where, who, and why. Those are pretty simple details, right? So we can get that stuff out of the way right at the beginning. Where, who, and why. And then we can focus on what made it a memorable trip. Now, you have a chance to write some things down, so you might write down on a piece of paper where, who, why, and then just tell the story. Okay, so why don't we actually try this? So I'm going to decide very quickly. Let's see. I'm going to talk about my trip to South Africa, and I'm going to say I went with my wife because that's true. And then I'm going to say that I went because I wanted to get to know my girlfriend at the time better and really get to know her to see if maybe we were a really good fit or not. And then I'm going to talk about some of the memories from the trip, okay? Now, I'm not going to focus too much on the time limit right now because I don't have a timer. We won't stress about that. But I'm going to just quickly answer the question as I would answer it, okay? You guys can give me a score if you want. I've never answered this question before, so I'm just organically answering it. And I don't have my notes, but I'll remember where, who, and why. And I'll also say the time. So, about 5 years ago, I took a trip to South Africa with my wife. Although she wasn't my wife at the time, she was my girlfriend. And we really went, at least the reason I went, to get to know each other, to see if we were really compatible, to see if we were a good fit. Because before we had only dated and seen each other once or twice a week, we wanted to see if we could really spend time together. So we went to South Africa for a whole month, and we traveled to a couple other countries as well. Now, a lot of really interesting things happened during the trip. The most important thing, though, is that we did find that we were very compatible. We really did get to know each other. We had a lot of crazy adventures. And I'd just like to talk about a few that made the trip really, really memorable. We decided from the beginning, because we both love animals, that we wanted to volunteer. South Africa, and all of Africa, is quite famous for animal conservation. So we volunteered at a baboon rehabilitation center. And I forget the name of it, but basically they take baboons whose mothers have been killed by farmers and they rehabilitate them. And the volunteers feed them, cut fruit for them, give them medicine, clean their cages, all of that sort of thing. And it was tough. It was very, very difficult. And we had to live in a cabin. And our cabin was raided. It was broken into by some local villagers, and they stole a bunch of our stuff. And through that experience, that struggle, that difficulty, we bonded. My then girlfriend and I, we bonded. We came together and got through the struggle. And I think that allowed me to see, wow, this person is not only a cool person, but also tough, resilient. We also had a lot of great memories after we finished the volunteer work. We went to the city, we drank a lot of red wine. We found we had a lot of interests in common, like red wine, jewelry. We went around and shopped for some interesting local jewelry, and nature. We went on a lot of little tours and trips around South Africa to see nature. We found we had many things in common and that we were actually a really good fit for each other. So that trip, for me, was very, very memorable. Okay, so that's my answer. I don't know how long it was because I'm not timing it. I probably could make it a little shorter, but that's basically how you do it, and you practice that. So if you're taking the IELTS, if you're not taking the IELTS, what you can do is search a list of questions and try to answer one a day. Record yourself. See how you do. See if you can organize your thoughts clearly. Use some of the tips we talked about. And again, even if you're not taking the IELTS, your English will improve if you do that every day. Okay? All right. Any questions about this stuff, guys? I know I've been talking for a while about IELTS, but have I missed any questions? Oh, I have. I missed a lot of questions. Yikes. What do you recommend for the reading section? Yeah, that's a good question. So the reading section of the IELTS is one where you might actually want to buy one of those IELTS practice books, because they ask you specific questions about the reading, and they take you through all the steps for how to answer the questions, and they can give you sample answers. So speaking, not so much. You kind of have to practice that with a teacher or on your own recording. For the reading section, it's really good to have one of those books to compare your answers to the answers in the book and see if your reading skills, your reading comprehension are at the right level. So buy an IELTS practice book, actually. I don't always recommend that, but for the reading section, that's a good choice. Do you think that in order to reach upper intermediate level, you have to make sure to speak in this level in your native language? No, upper intermediate level might be using more than just simple vocabulary naturally, pretty easily, maybe occasionally making some grammatical mistakes, like not using the past tense once in a while or mixing some things up. If you saw the live stream last week and you saw Sam, he's about upper intermediate. So he doesn't have perfect English, but he uses pretty advanced vocabulary once in a while and does it naturally without really trying, although his English is not perfect. His pronunciation is not perfect. His use of the language is good, and he's pretty fluent. Yeah. Just talk as much as you can in the test. See, that's not quite right, because if you just talk as much as you can, but for example, you're not organized, or you're using a lot of incorrect language, or you're making a lot of mistakes, you will hurt your score. You really will. So again, use simpler language. Try to keep it simple. And you want to try to organize your thoughts well so that the person listening to you, the examiner, they understand you. Because if they don't understand what you're saying, they will give you a bad score. So you have to be well organized, and don't use what you don't know for sure. What do you think about, just adding questions here. If you guys ask good questions, I'll put them up on the screen. What do you think about reading The Born Identity by Robert Ludlum to be better at English speaking and understanding? Well, it doesn't seem like reading directly relates to making you a better speaker, right? Because you can read and know lots of vocabulary, know lots of new words, but that doesn't mean you're automatically going to suddenly be able to blah, 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 say anything you want to say, right? So I would say it's good to have some practice beyond just reading. Reading is a great way to learn new vocabulary. Reading is a great way to get a feeling for the language and the grammar, the structures, to see how it's used. And it can indirectly help your speaking by giving you that background, that foundation of English, phrases, idioms, words, grammar, all that stuff. But it's not like I'm reading more, so I should be able to speak with more confidence. It doesn't work like that. Speaking really is more like an exercise and less like things you learn or a thing that you learn, right? Because I've seen lots of people who are amazing at understanding spoken English, listening, and really strong readers and even strong writers who can't speak. That's pretty weird, right? Why is that? It's a very simple reason. They don't practice. They don't have a chance to speak. If you don't speak, you won't be good at speaking. That's very simple. It seems like, oh, but I learned so many words. I know 10,000 English words. I should be able to speak naturally. Sorry. No. It's more like a sport. If you don't do it, you can't get good at it. And that's true across the board. I've met plenty of students who have amazing vocabulary, amazing grammar, amazing. But they can't say anything. And they think, well, I studied so hard. It's not about studying. Studying is the thing that gives you the support to speak. It's the stuff that comes out of your mouth. But getting used to speaking is like becoming an ice skater. It's getting used to the feeling of the ice under your feet, getting used to interacting in another language, face to face, okay? Talking to a camera, that's a different experience too. That takes practice. Everything that you do like that takes practice, takes doing. So if you don't have someone to talk with regularly, then I would say just record yourself once a day speaking and listen back to it. That's a great exercise. I know I've said that before, but it really is a great exercise. Oh, I'm just wondering if you speak naturally right now or you force yourself to speak slowly. That's a good question. I've answered this question before, but it's sort of like I'm speaking at my natural speed, but I'm not speaking at my natural level of fluency, if that makes sense. Maybe I can explain that better. So this is a good question by Corey. I speak this fast in my everyday life. I don't speak like this. I don't speak super fast because that sounds crazy, right? This is my speaking speed. However, and if you can understand me, wonderful. But a lot of people say, hey, I can understand you. Why is that? Are you speaking slower? It's not because I'm speaking slower. That's not the reason. It's because I'm not saying many things. Because I've been an English teacher for over 8 years, and I know what not to say so that everyone will understand me. There are a billion things that I could be saying that I might say to other native English speakers that I'm deciding not to say. And the only way I can do that is because I have lots and lots of practice communicating with English learners. Cultural references, idioms, phrases, and if I started speaking that way suddenly, it might be a surprise to many of you. What is he saying now? So I'm just choosing to not say many things. That's why. And the reason is because I want to be understood, because this is an English Q&A, and I want you guys to know what I'm talking about. But if you're interested in learning idioms, I've got a whole course on that, actually 4 courses. If you haven't checked those out, so there's a link in the description. And for you guys, because you're from YouTube, I have a huge discount. It's an 88% discount for you guys on that course. Those courses are fairly expensive, but for you guys, there's a big discount. There are 4 courses about idioms, phrases, expressions that native English speakers use that I use every day. And each course is about 7 hours long. So if you can tolerate looking at my face for 7 hours, it would be very useful, I think. And people seem to be really enjoying those courses. And you can get an 88% discount if you use the coupon code under the link in the description. There's a code, and it's just for YouTube viewers. You can use that. Check out the courses. You won't regret it, I promise. Okay. Also, please hit the like button. That really helps me out. Hit like. I would really appreciate if you hit like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Because the like button tells YouTube that there's a live class going on and more people can join. Okay. Milton says, I'm going to put the questions that I like up here, and we'll go through them. No, don't worry if I missed one. Take it off the heat or get off of the bus. Please, will you elaborate that? Why some people use off of and sometimes only off. Okay. Let me think for a second. Take it off of the heat. Get off of the bus. Take it off the heat. Get off the bus. Well, I think the answer to your question is because I don't know. Because they do. Just because they do. There are some things that are sort of stylistic, right? Often when we're speaking quickly, we want to just express something. We don't use the of because it just seems excessive. And we know what we mean if we just say off. Hey, get off the bus. Get off the counter. You could say get off of the counter. Get off of the counter. Get off of the bus. Get off. Take that off of the stove. Take that off the stove. So both are okay, right? And often native English speakers will only use just off, and the feeling is I just want to get my thoughts across naturally, quickly, efficiently, without adding anything that makes my life more inconvenient. So off is fine. We might see off of in a situation where someone is speaking more slowly and they want to be very accurate. They might be more likely to use of. And also if someone is writing, they'll probably use of. Take it off of maybe another person's plate. Let me take that off of your plate. It's okay to just use off your plate. It's okay. It's fine. Both are correct. But they might be just used in different contexts. But again, both are fine. Both are correct. Good question. I'm an English teacher and teach senior, high, junior students in China on a daily basis. Is that beneficial for IELTS test preparation? 007, I'm an English teacher and teach senior and junior high school students in China on a daily basis. Okay, that's cool. I teach some students in China as well. Is that beneficial for IELTS test preparation? Do you mean that is IELTS test prep beneficial for them, or do you mean is teaching them beneficial for you to be good at doing IELTS? I'll answer both, I guess. So if you use IELTS questions for junior high school students and high school students, it really depends on their level. For many students, it's going to blow their minds and they won't even understand the question because they're not good enough. For students who have a very low level of English, probably not. Probably not, because it's too hard for them. If they don't understand the question, don't use IELTS questions to prepare. You guys understand me, you understood the question, so you guys can use IELTS questions to practice and improve your English. That's great. You can do that. You should do that, whether you're taking the exam or not. For your kids or for students who have a very low level of English, just know that if the question is too hard for them, then they shouldn't. Can teaching high school students improve your ability to take the IELTS? If that's your question, maybe. I guess everything can improve your IELTS score. Why are we talking about IELTS anyway? Because it's actually a really accurate test. In my opinion, it's the most accurate exam you can take. And if you want to get a sense for where your English is, even if you don't need to take the IELTS, I recommend that you sign up for it, really, because it can give you a clear sense of where you are. And if you know you have an IELTS exam coming up in 6 months, you have some pressure. You can make a plan around that. You can, and I have another video about this, how to make an English learning goal. You've got a plan. You have to work on the different areas, speaking, writing, listening, and reading. And so that can force you to work every day and get into good English learning habits. So, yeah. All right. Let's see. Oh, I missed some questions. Ooh, liked and subscribed. Thank you so much. Thumbs up. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. What do you think about shadowing? Jarmila, can you explain what you mean by shadowing? Can you ask that a little differently? I'm not quite sure exactly what shadowing, because shadowing can have lots of different meanings. I understand you very well, but I don't understand movies or talk shows. I have to practice more, I think. Lolly lolly. So, yes. And again, the reason is because I'm not saying lots of things that you would hear on talk shows, because on talk shows, they're speaking to each other, two native English speakers. Not only native English speakers, but native English speakers probably from the United States. And so they have a lot of common things that they understand that maybe people from other places don't understand. They grew up in the same culture. So, because they share those things, they're able to communicate on a very native level, which means other people won't understand some of the things that they're saying. So, talk shows might be the most difficult. And news. Well, news is maybe not so difficult because it's a bit more formal, but talk shows especially because it's very conversational. So I made a video about Jimmy Fallon and Jessica Alba, The Tonight Show. So check that video out. It's a pretty recent one. I'll be doing more. I'm going to be doing more talk shows and movies so that we can pick out some native English from these things and learn from them. Lolly lolly, if you want to learn from a talk show, here's how you do it. You find an episode that you really like, get an episode that you love, and make that your learning episode. This is the one I'm going to learn from. This is going to be my Bible. This is going to be the thing that I learn English from. Don't just watch it quickly and then go to the next and go to the next. Now, if you enjoy it and you're just watching it for entertainment, fine. But if you're watching it to learn, do it like this. Pick one, then make sure you have subtitles, but don't use subtitles from your language. What is your native language? Oh, France. Okay, French. Don't use French subtitles, okay? Only English subtitles. Only English subtitles. Then watch the episode piece by piece. Watch the first 3 minutes. Look at the subtitles. Write down some of the phrases that you weren't familiar with, some of the words that you weren't familiar with. If you see an idiom or something or a phrasal verb that you don't know, stop, pause, pick it out, say, how do I figure out what this means? Well, if you've seen my courses, you might know. But if you want to search it, go to thefreedictionary.com. Amazing website. I have a whole video about this website. But go to thefreedictionary.com, go to idioms, and search it. You can find phrasal verbs, you can find idioms, you can find so many different things there. It's amazing. The free dictionary, and search that thing. Look at the examples until you feel you understand it. Then go back to that part of the show, watch it again, and if you understand it, you've learned it. Okay? And keep going. Go slowly and carefully through the entire episode until you feel like you understand 95% of what is being said. Then watch it without the subtitles. Then get a version that doesn't have any subtitles. Watch the whole thing and see if you can understand much better. That, if you're really serious about learning English, that is how you do it. Step by step, piece by piece. Slowly at first, with English subtitles, looking up the different pieces, writing things down, taking notes, being very careful. Spend a whole 2 weeks on it if you have to. Then watch it without the subtitles and see if you can understand. That's the way to do it. It's a little more boring, but that's how you do it. Sometimes you have to suffer a little bit to really learn. Just like I'm suffering with this cold coffee. So, is speaking more effective than listening to get fluent? I've been learning English for many years and still make mistakes and want to improve myself in English effectively. Absolutely. If we're calling... Whoa. What happened? Yikes. I'm trying to make it... Whoa. Oops. Yes. The answer is yes. Because listening won't make you a fluent English speaker. Listening will make you a good listener. Okay? But to be a fluent speaker, you have to practice it. People think that learning to speak is a kind of mental academic thing, like learning some facts, but it's not. It's more like learning a craft, learning a skill, learning a sport. It's muscle memory. It's comfort. It's confidence. And so it does take practice doing the actual thing. So I'm not saying you shouldn't practice listening. You should do that. Absolutely. 100% yes. But don't only do that. Every day, spend 3 minutes answering a question. If you want, get a bunch of IELTS Part 2 questions. Those are great. You can find them online. Just download. You don't even need to download. Copy and paste a bunch of IELTS Part 2 questions, 50 of them. And say, okay, for the next 50 days, I am going to answer one of these questions by myself with my phone. Got my little phone here, and I turn on my recording app, and I just record. A few years ago, I went to South Africa with my wife, blah, 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 blah. Then you listen back to it. A few years ago, I went to South Africa. Okay, and see if you make any mistakes and write down notes. And if you just spend, who doesn't have 3 or 4 minutes, right? If you just spend a few minutes a day on that, then you're definitely going to improve. It's just that most people say, well, yeah, but that's... Excuses. I promise you, if you do that for 50 days, your English is going to be way better. And if you, Znika, do that for the next 50 days, come back to me and tell me what happened. I challenge you to do it. You will be much better. You will be much better. I guarantee it, 1,000%. And tell us all how it went with your amazing English confidence, spoken confidence. Gene! Sorry, I'm a little behind the questions, guys, but I'm going as quickly as I can. We'll try to get to everybody. Don't worry, we're going to answer all these questions. I've got time today. I'm probably going to see the Joker later in the afternoon, so I've got plenty of time. Plenty of time. Okay. Gene says, what about TOEFL? Wow. It's almost like I asked Gene to ask that question. What about TOEFL? It's more like an academic exam. If someone wants to work abroad in the UK or in the US, which one is more helpful? So generally speaking, TOEFL is for the United States. This is for people who want to go to the United States to study and maybe go to a university. And then Canada, UK, New Zealand, Australia, some other places are IELTS. Generally, not only, but generally. What are the basic differences between the basic differences between IELTS and TOEFL? Because they're both the same kind of test. Both of them are exams to test your level of English overall. And both of them have all of the parts, test the different areas, speaking, writing, reading, listening. But they're not the same. There are some differences. The differences, basically, are in the form of the test. When you take the IELTS test, you sit down, for the speaking part, for example, you sit down with an examiner. And it's more like a conversation. It's back and forth. There are 3 questions in the IELTS speaking exam, and you go through them one by one, but it does feel like a conversation. You're talking with a human being. For the TOEFL speaking section, you are answering the question as a recording on a computer. There are 6 parts in the TOEFL speaking test, and they're much more complicated. There are 2 regular simple questions, then the other parts require you to listen to different types of material. You have to listen to something and read something and compare those and then answer the question to a computer, and you have less time to prepare. So for the speaking part, the difference is one is, I think, more natural. The IELTS is more natural because you're talking with a person and they're trained to evaluate your score. The other is somehow unnatural. I'm not crazy about it. It's good to prepare for the TOEFL test, but I'm not crazy about it as a way to actually evaluate your level of English because it's not natural. Nobody actually talks to a computer, and nobody has to read something and then listen to something and then think about that for 15 seconds and then answer for 45 seconds. It's too stressful, and even someone who speaks English well conversationally might not do well there because they're not good at incorporating information quickly. So when it comes to the speaking tests, IELTS is way better, in my opinion. It's more accurate, and it can give you a better sense of where you are in terms of your English level. The other parts, reading, they're more similar. So I would say for the other parts, either TOEFL or IELTS, both are okay. But I think the speaking part is the part most people really want to know about, really want to practice and work on. So IELTS is way better, in my opinion. In my opinion. Not easier, just better and more accurate. You're dealing with a human being. Yeah. It's a good question. Thank you for asking that question. I like it. Repeating the same words after the teacher in a short time could be better at speaking. You guys are asking all of the good questions. What is wrong with you guys today? All of the questions you're asking are great. It's weird. It's weird. Oh, by the way, before I answer Jarmila's question, I wanted to mention something. I'm trying to test something. It's a... What am I trying to say? I'm trying to test something. It's an app. I'll show you. It's a VR app, and it's called VTime XR. VTime XR. Oh, you can't see it. Okay, you can't see it. It's called VTime XR, and let me see if I can load the. Hold on. VTime XR. Okay, and it is an AR app, VR app that you can use to chat with people. And I want to try a class with someone. I would like to give one of you a free 30-minute lesson. But the requirement is that you have an iPhone and you can download VTime XR. If you have an iPhone and you can download VTime XR, please send me a message in the Facebook group. Okay? Because I realize on YouTube, nobody's seeing my notifications when I get back to you guys because YouTube doesn't notify people when someone responds. So get in the Facebook group and send me a message and let me know if you're interested and we can do a class. One of you and I can do a class. I want to test it out, free 30-minute class, but it's got to be, you have to have that app, okay? VTime XR. All right. Anyway, I really want to try it. So Jarmila asks, repeating the same words after the teacher in a short time can make you better at speaking. All right. Yes and no. Yes, because when you are repeating right after someone says something, you're able to match the sounds, and so you're working on your pronunciation and maybe the rate, it's called the cadence, and the overall sound, the fluent sound. You're copying the teacher. Okay, so yes, no, because when you're doing that, your brain is off. In other words, when you're speaking, when somebody says, well, tell me how your vacation was. Tell me about your vacation. You say, oh, let me tell you about my vacation. You have to use your brain to do that. You have to dig into your memory and pull out words that express how your vacation was. When you're repeating a teacher, you're kind of just mindlessly doing that, maybe just focusing on the sounds. So they're working on two different skill sets. One is the pronunciation, the fluency. The sound, rather. The other is is harder, actually, the ability to think and use your own ideas to express something, which is more difficult, I think, for sure, to explain what you mean in English. And so that's going to be more challenging, and you're not going to improve your ability to do that if you're just repeating people. So if you only do the repetition, just know that you're only working on your pronunciation. And if you want to be a good speaker in general, to express yourself, you have to be able to give an opinion about something that comes from yourself, your own brain, right? So you're just working on two different skills when you're doing that. Yeah. Oh, good question. What's with all the good questions today? What's with all the good questions? Many people think that IELTS is only for business and has nothing to do with figuring out your level of English. I would disagree with that. I have found that for people I know who have taken the IELTS test, it's been very accurate at getting what I thought they would get, coming out with what I thought they would get. In other words, whether it's my student or my friend or whatever, they go in to take the IELTS, and in my mind I say, okay, 6.5, 6.5. They come out 6.5. So I think it's pretty accurate. I can't think of one that's more accurate. Nothing's perfect. No exam is perfect, but it's not bad, and I think it's as close as I've seen to accurate. So yeah, it's a good question, but of course it's a business. Of course it's a business. I just think it's one of the better exams out there because it's well organized and it's more natural. It's conversational, the speaking part. Okay, why do people use have got and sometimes have gotten? Is it something like British and American English? Oh yeah, that's a good question. Before I answer this, guys, don't forget to give the stream a like if you like it. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you don't like it, let me know. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And if you want to learn more serious English pronunciation, building your English brain, fluency skills, customer service English, idioms, phrases, expressions, check out my courses on Udemy or Skillshare. And there's a big discount on Udemy if you use the coupon code. Huge discount, a gigantic discount. And also, if you have any questions, I'm here. So, okay, have got. So Milton's question, let me think about this for a second. Like we have got a lot to do today, or actually, you know what, Milton? Can you give me a couple, because have got and have gotten, they can be used in so many different ways. I don't want to just answer over there and not address your question, which might be over here, right? So can you give me a couple of specific examples that express your confusion, and then maybe we can go through them. Yeah. So let's do that later. Get back to me on that. Okay. What do you mean with IELTS? I've been following your advice. What do you mean with IELTS? What do I mean with IELTS? I don't know. I don't know. I think I've said a lot. Luke, would you tell me what have you gotten through this book means? Okay. Have you gotten through this book? That means have you completed the book? Have you finished the book? If someone says, have you got through the book yet? That's okay. I mean, people will say, have you got through the book yet? Have you gotten through the book yet? We use gotten. Some people will use gotten because it's a version of the past participle. Past participle is a form of a verb that, for example, like eaten, taken, done, seen, gone, those are past participles. And often gotten, have you gotten through it, is used as a past participle after have gotten, have eaten, have done. But because gotten is kind of an awkward word, a lot of people will just use got instead, right? So we have got through the whole thing, which is something that a lot of people will say. Kind of fuzzy if it's correct or not, but and I'd have to actually look up the rule to see if it's technically grammatically right. But generally speaking, it's okay if you say got or gotten. Okay, see, I have collected some words which generally hard for non-native speakers. Would you like me to text those words? Yeah, if you want to send them to me. You know what? Put them in the Facebook group. Join the Facebook group and put them in the Facebook group. Maybe everyone else would like to learn the words as well. One thing I really hope about the Facebook group, we now have about 100 members, which is cool, but it's kind of just me sharing stuff. I'm posting videos there, sometimes things that make me laugh, which is fine. But I hope that you guys can also share stuff that you think is interesting. So sharing memes that you find online, useful English learning tips, videos that you think are useful, and a PDF full of advanced vocabulary I think would be worth sharing, or a link, maybe a link to a PDF that you make, Dinesh. So make a PDF and then upload it somewhere and give us a link in the Facebook group and we can all learn from it. That would be cool. I'm though. What does I am though mean? I don't know what I am though means. I am through? I am through might mean I got fired. You're through. Someone says you're through. That means you're fired. You got fired. Yeah, the boss said to me, you're through. Now that's kind of an old way to say that. It's much more common to say you're fired, or we are going to have to let you go. To let you go means you can't work here anymore. But we might say, I'm through with this. I'm through with this. I'm through with this means I'm done with it. I'm finished with it. I don't want to do anything related to this anymore. I'm totally through with that. Okay. If we say I'm going through something, that might mean we have a difficulty or a struggle in life. So, for example, I'm going through some hard things right now. I'm going through some really hard life things. It's tough. But we can also say I'm going through some paperwork. Maybe I have a lot of things to read. I'm trying to go through this to see if I can find this, whatever I'm trying to find. And some old files, for example. I'm going through these old files and I found something. What did you find? Maybe it's a crime drama or something. We went through some old files. So that means to just look through something or read something carefully. Hey, Andre from Rio. How are you? I'm very good. Andre is in his bedroom paying attention to what I'm saying. Wow, cool. In your bedroom. Nice. It's a good place to be. I'm in my office. This is my office / studio. Oh my gosh, so many great questions. How can we get to them all? We'll try. Is VTime XR available on Android? I don't know. I don't think so. But if it is, that would be awesome. Does tell me when you are available? Does tell me when you are available mean tell me as soon as you are available, or tell me what time you are available? Oh, wow. I'm amazed by the questions today. I'm really amazed. I couldn't come up. The hair in my coffee. Oh, that's disgusting. That's horrible. Sorry about that. This is such a good question. I wish I could come up with questions this good. It's a great name, by the way. I might name my first child HJK6. Hey, HJK6, do your homework. Does tell me when you are available mean tell me as soon as you are available, or tell me what time you will be available? Yes, that is a great question. So actually, it can be used for both. So if I say, hey, tell me when you're available tomorrow. Oh, I should be available at around 3. Is that okay? Does that work for you? Yeah. Oh, 3's good. So tell me when you're available tomorrow means tell me the time. Tell me what time you will be available tomorrow, for example. Okay? Tell me when you're available could also be you're not available now, and as soon as that ends, let me know. That would be tell me as soon as you are available, right? So, for example, you're in a meeting and you're still text messaging, because everybody texts in meetings, right? I do. And your friend texts you and says, hey, do you want to grab some lunch? And you text back, I can't. I'm in a meeting. I'm in a meeting now. Your boss is seeing if you're texting. And then your friend says, okay, well, tell me when you're available. Does that mean that I should text back, oh, I should be available at 4 p.m.? No, it doesn't have to be. It could be just as soon as I finish the meeting, I'm done with the meeting, then I send you a text and said, hey, the meeting's over. Let's get lunch. Oh, great. Okay, so it can be either one. That's why that's a great phrase. Great question. HJK6. HJK6, brush your teeth. Go to bed. I don't have kids. But if I have one, it's going to be HJK6. Boy or a girl, doesn't matter. Lolly Lolly can join you for the class. He seems very good. Yes, of course, Lolly Lolly is a girl. She. I can't imagine a boy named Lolly Lolly. I can't imagine. Why would you assume someone named Lolly Lolly, Milton, is a boy? It would be a strange name. It's a very kind of bouncy, fun, candy, ice cream, girly name, I think. All right. Yeah, if you guys want to join the Facebook group, it's called the Cloud. What is it called? What is my own group called? Okay. Hey, I can put a link in here. I just put a link to the group right here in the chat. There it is. You guys can join, and I will definitely approve you. We have 91 members, and yeah, it's going okay. It's cool. See what it becomes. But I'm in there every day, so you can ask questions or whatever. Okay, back to the questions. I got to get back to it. I have a lot to catch up on. You seem cool, though, says Milton. Lolly says, I am cool. Very confident. I like this back and forth here. This is Milton. You seem cool, though. Lolly, I am. LOL. That's funny. I don't know why that's funny, but it's funny. Is it Hadel is here from Dominican Republic? Very cool. Is grammar important when you start to learn English? My grammar is terrible. Okay. We'll talk about this one. Hooked over. Is grammar important? The answer is yes, it is. But it doesn't have to be boring to learn grammar. Okay? So often when we think of grammar, we think of buying a grammar book, and going back to school and taking a course about grammar. And that is often learning these words like prepositional phrases and modal verbs, and oh God, it's terrible, right? I think it's terrible too. I think grammar is boring. I don't like talking about grammar. Nobody likes talking about grammar, except for maybe Grammar Girl. There's a website called Grammar Girl. So if you like to learn grammar very technically like that, fine. And actually, ironically, I'm working on a full course about English grammar, but I'm going to try to teach it in a way that's not super boring. That's my goal. Anyway, how do you learn grammar without doing it the boring way? I would recommend not buying a grammar book. Grammar books don't focus on the right thing, which is usage. They focus on rules, usually. So the better thing to do would be to, this is my advice, read a book. Pick up a book that you like, that you're interested in, and start reading it. Now, if you want to read it slowly and carefully, once in a while, this is what you can do. You can pick out a sentence from the book. Pick out an interesting sentence that has grammar that you don't fully understand. Why is the sentence written like this? And try to make your own sentence with a different meaning, your own words, and put your meaning into the same structure. And that's grammar. The human brain is actually built to understand grammar. Grammar is actually a complicated thing. It's very, very strange and very complicated. But the human brain is naturally coded, built for comprehending and understanding grammar. And so we can learn grammar not by learning rules, we can learn grammar by example. Think about how you learned the grammar of your own language, how I learned the grammar of my own language. Do you think I learned grammar in my language by learning words like prepositional phrase? No. Or relative clauses? No. Did you? Well, we all learn some things basically in school, but that's not why we speak our native language well. No, we learn it naturally through example. So my advice, if you want to learn how to use grammar, if you want to learn how to sort of push yourself and develop more English skills and how to express yourself and use more complicated grammar, try to do that exercise of picking out a sentence and putting your own meaning into that sentence structure and see if it still makes sense. It's a great exercise that you can do. And then play with it a little bit. Make it kind of playful. Change the sentence around. See if you can keep the same meaning but change the structure. And put it in the Facebook group and I'll check it for you. I'll say, okay, this is wrong and this is right. I would be more than happy to give feedback on sentences that you guys make, okay? So it doesn't have to be boring. You don't have to learn the names of everything. You just have to find lots of examples and you have to try to make your own examples. And then you have to have a way to check to see if those examples are right. And then whether or not you know what it's called, you are learning grammar, okay? So that's how that works. It doesn't have to be boring. And if you're just reading casually, you're still going to slowly start to get a feeling for the language and the grammar, even if you're not studying every sentence. So you don't have to study every sentence. Just read a lot. And you're going to start to get a feeling for it, for sure. Faux show. I am through at work. Sorry to hear that. I'm thinking that I can help you advertise on China's biggest online purchasing app, Taobao. There are so many Chinese IELTS students who need your guidance, and it's a gigantic market. Believe it or not, 007, I'm already there. I'm the co-founder of a language learning platform called Yoli, which is a Chinese company. And we have IELTS courses, and we have also some stuff up on Taobao as well. But yeah, I'm happy to talk about it more. But I have another company. In my company, if you guys are on HelloTalk, HelloTalk is an app where you can get a language exchange partner. If you take one of the 1-to-1 classes on HelloTalk, one of the private classes, very likely that class will be with a teacher that I trained. So I manage a few hundred teachers around the world and have trained them and wrote most of the curriculum. And so if you take one of the classes on HelloTalk, you're actually taking a class probably that I made. Yeah, we can talk about cooperation. Sure, send me a message. 007, send me a message, private message on Facebook. That'd be fine. Marco, Antonio, your English classes are very interesting. I would like to take all your courses. I took American English pronunciation, and I hope to take some others from you. Marco, thanks for saying so. Cool. Yeah. If you want, the discount coupon is in the code under the link. There's a code. Big discount. Big discount. Big discount. Yes, like lollipop. I know I'm way behind on these chats, guys. I'm going as fast as I can. Lolly is for lollipop. Yeah. Lollipops are good. Okay. Luke, I would be grateful to understand this. I saw people use apart from in two ways. First is beside, or second is except for. Like apart from, besides pizza, I like burgers. There were everybody. Okay, so apart from pizza, I like burgers. Yeah. Apart from pizza, I like. Yes. Yes, that's okay. Most people will use besides, though. Besides pizza, I like burgers. Besides chicken, I really like burgers or whatever. Apart from pizza, I like burgers is okay. It's okay. I think it's more common to use besides. There was everyone apart from Luke. You could say everybody was there apart from Luke. And that also means besides. It's the same thing. So everybody was there besides Luke. Everyone was there apart from Luke. So apart from basically means besides. Right? If I say this one, Dinesh's example here. We would say everybody was there apart from Luke. That means I was maybe supposed to be there. I should have been there, but I wasn't there. So we could also say then everyone was there besides Luke. Besides Luke. Besides chicken, I like burgers. Apart from chicken, I like burgers. So it's the same thing as besides. You can use it in exactly the same way. Lolly thinks that learning grammar is fun, not boring at all. I think that's wonderful. Congratulations. That's cool. You should start a grammar company, a grammar teaching company. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Grammar girl. Okay, hello. Which tense do native speakers usually use in real life? I think you mean tense, because a tent is something that you sleep in at night. I think all people use the same kind of tense, probably. I don't have a tent, actually. I used to have a tent when I was a kid. I had my own tent. And when I would get upset at my brothers or I wanted to be alone, sometimes I would put my tent out into the yard and go sleep in the tent and feel like I was independent and cool. It's my own tent. It was a yellow tent, and it was pretty small. It can only fit one person. But I think what you meant there is tense, T-E-N-S-E. Which tense do native speakers usually use in real life? And I can't answer that question because it's so big. It's so big. It's like saying, please tell me all of the words in the English language. Well, there's banana and coconut, and there are hundreds of thousands of words in the English language. And there aren't that many tenses, but there are so many that trying to say any of them now would be impossible. I can say that there are lots of places you can go online to learn many of the different tenses. I also am working on a course to teach all of the different tenses as well as other grammar. The ironic thing about my comments about grammar is that I'm currently filming a course about grammar. I'm just trying to do it in a way that, very nice. You want to come over here? This is Mushroom. Can I see your nails? Mushroom just finished your nails. Let's see, Mushroom. Kind of like a pinkish purple color? Oh, they're different. This is pink and this one's purple, right? Very nice. Very good. No, I'm good. Thanks. Okay. No, you also did your toenails. All right. Good for you. That is my wife, Mushroom. Yeah, so the ironic thing is I'm working on a grammar course. But I want to teach it in a way that isn't horribly boring and not something that people just have to go, oh, God, yeah, okay. I want to make it with lots and lots of examples. So this is the grammar. This is the name. Okay, that's what it's called. Anyway, you know that I know what it's called. Now let's look at 100 examples. It'll be like that. Anyway, I assume tense and vocabulary are two essential things to learn in good English. And someone else you need to do is listening and speaking. Yes, that is true. That is true. Hello, I want to improve my writing skill. Please suggest. Thanks from India. Well, okay. So here's one thing you can do. There is a website called Lang8. I think it's Lang, then the number 8. You can Google it. Lang8. And you can get your writing checked. So there are a couple things. If you want to improve your writing skill, first you have to practice, all right? So just like I mentioned with the speaking skills, give yourself a daily task, or, okay, maybe don't work on writing every day. Speaking every day, writing 3 times a week. If you want to, you can just write about what you've been reading. It's a good way to sort of combine your writing and reading practice. So just write down what you remember from what you're reading. That's a good thing to do. Or you can search some writing questions. There's a great website that has writing prompts, and I'm going to send you the link here. Hold on a second. Give me 1 second. I'm going to send you this. I shouldn't even be giving you guys this because it's too good. But I already said I'm going to, so I'll do it. All right. This website is a TOEFL prep website. Okay, it helps people prepare for the TOEFL writing exam. And it has a bunch of topics based on agree and disagree, preferences, description, explanation, imagination, and compare and contrast. This website is awesome. Well, at least this part of the website is. You can find writing prompts, topics to write about. You could do this 3 or 4 times a week. You write about it, and then you make it really good as you possibly can. Then you submit it to Lang8 to get it checked. Now, please don't send it to me to check it. Guys, I don't have time to edit. I'm an English teacher, not an editor. Too many people send me their work and say, Luke, please edit this for me. It's not going to happen. But you can send it to Lang8, upload it to Lang8, and someone will check it for you, as far as I know, if it's still working. But before that, you can use Grammarly. Grammarly is a really good app, and I use it all the time when I'm writing, just to make sure I'm not making any typos or small mistakes. Grammarly is free. You can download it, and when you're writing, it will catch punctuation mistakes, spelling mistakes, some incorrect grammar, and can suggest better words sometimes to use. It's actually really good. So get a topic from this website, or write about what you're reading about, or write about a movie you saw yesterday. Do it a few times a week. Write in Grammarly, and then upload it to Lang8. That's a good way to practice. That's my advice. And if you do that, you're going to be good, very good, so good, super good, too good. You might become too good. That's a problem. That might happen. It's a danger. He's too good. This is a problem. What was wrong with him? He was too good at English. That's bad. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a dummy. Make sure you guys like the stream. Hit the like button. If you haven't, please hit the like button and subscribe like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. And check out my courses. I have to mention that every few minutes. I must. Okay. That was tense. Good one. That's a pun. Dinesh made a pun. Okay, if you guys don't know what a pun is, this is a pun. When you use a word as another meaning or it sounds like another word, it's a good one. Tense means nervous or something like that. Or kind of stressed or tough situation. Very tense. Good one. Good one. So you are an introvert. You like to be alone. Who does? Me? Yes, I am. Luke, please let us know some examples about unlike and alike. Sometimes they seem very confusing. What do you mean? They're totally different. Unlike. Well, actually, we don't usually use unlike. These two things are unlike. We don't usually say unlike. What we usually say is these two things are not alike. Not alike. Say they're not alike. Or we might say they're not similar. Sometimes we'll say dissimilar, but we can say not alike. Or they're alike. We don't usually use unlike means that you hit the like button on the video and then you undid it. That would be to unlike something. That's a verb. Lolly unliked my video. It hurts. It hurts. It's too painful. It's very sad. That would be a verb. To like something and then to take that like away, to unlike it. But then alike is similar. Alike is the same as similar. We're very alike. We're very similar. Very alike. Very similar. We're not alike at all. We're not similar. We're not alike at all. We often just use the not in front of alike. Yeah. Good question. Luke, you're fortunate to have a beautiful wife. I agree. That's true. I am very fortunate. I am a lucky duck. Vivek, why are you using awkward language? I don't know. HJK6 says, which of the following is correct? It is Luke who has eaten the cake. It was Luke who has eaten the cake. Oh, God. I know, Lolly. It was just an example. Relax. Hey, calm down. Everything's okay. Okay. HJK6 asks, which one of the following is correct? It is Luke who has eaten the cake. It was Luke who has eaten the cake. Okay. It is Luke who has eaten the cake. Okay. But who will speak like this? I've never used that grammar to express myself before. It's too complex. So we would most of the time just say, Luke ate the cake. Luke ate the cake. Instead of saying, it was Luke who has eaten the cake. It was Luke who has eaten the cake. It was Luke, or it is Luke who has eaten the cake. It's just too complex to say such a simple thing. We can use the who has grammar. Sometimes there's a reason to use it, and we use it for a reason, specifically. Maybe we can talk about some examples of that. But usually not in this case. Not in this cake. Oops. Not in this case. Not in this case. We will say instead, Luke ate the cake. Has Luke eaten the cake? Yes, he has eaten the cake. Luke has eaten the cake. He ate the cake. He has eaten the cake. That would be the normal way to say that. Luke, I heard some people saying, I retract my words. Retract means to take back what you said. If I made a comment about someone, and then I want to say, never mind, forget that I said that. Erase it from your memory. Then I'll say it was, I want to retract it. I'd like to retract my statement. Okay, so maybe I'm critical of somebody. Oh, I don't like that painting. Then I realize that you made the painting with your feet, with your toes. I retract my criticism. I would like to retract my criticism. I would like to retract my criticism because I suddenly realized a different situation here. You didn't use your hands to paint it. You used your feet. Amazing. The paintbrush, you held it in your toes. Wow. So I'm no longer critical of it. I now think it's amazing. We often use the word retraction. We often use retraction when we're talking about things in the news. So if a news company like CNN or something like that, if they print something and then it was wrong and someone finds out it was wrong, then they'll take it back. They'll take it back. So they printed a retraction later, but they can't actually remove the newspaper, right? So what they'll do is they'll print something that says, by the way, the thing we said last week was wrong, and we're just correcting it, just so that you know that we know. We are sorry that we made a mistake. We said the wrong thing. This was incorrect, inaccurate, and now we're going to print a retraction. To print a retraction. It's usually something that responsible news organizations will do. Yeah. All right, guys. I think we can stop here for today. Hey, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for your awesome questions. I really, really appreciate them. It's been really cool. We're going to do this again next week. So don't forget to come back next week. Bring your questions. If you have questions as you're watching movies or thinking about English or practicing English or whatever, write them down on a piece of paper. Write them down somewhere and bring them to class. We'll try to get through them. I think I answered almost all the questions today. So I'm happy about that. Again, thank you so much for joining. Some really, really good questions today, and I really appreciate it. Guys, I'll see you next time. See you next week. And also, I'll be posting a video, of course, next Friday or Saturday, depending on where you live. So, guys, have a good one. I'm going to go watch Joker. Hope it's good. Bye.